a sea started disappearing within a single human lifetime. Fishing towns stood beside wide water. The shoreline kept moving away year after year. Boats stayed behind on dry ground. Work collapsed as water vanished. The Aral Sea lies between Kazakhstan and Uzbekistan in Central Asia. Rivers from distant mountains kept it alive for decades. Fishing towns grew along its shoreline. In the 1960s, irrigation systems began redirecting river water. The balance slowly started shifting. Water from the region's main rivers moved into expanding cotton irrigation systems. Each year, less water continued reaching the Aral Sea basin. The shoreline slowly pulled farther away from ports, fishing towns, and industrial areas built beside the water. At first, many people believed the retreat was temporary, but the sea continued shrinking through every season as river inflow kept decreasing. Harbors that once touched active water routes became separated from the shoreline by growing stretches of dry land. Fishing industries started weakening as environmental conditions across the basin became harder to sustain. Entire communities began losing what they depended on for generations. By the late 20th century, large sections of the Aral Sea had disappeared completely. Ports that once stood beside active fishing routes now faced empty deserts stretching across the former seabed. Fishing boats remained stranded far from the shoreline they once crossed every day. Salt levels increased across the shrinking water as fresh river inflow continued falling year after year. Fish populations collapsed under the changing environmental conditions inside the basin. Wetlands and feeding areas supporting birds, fish, and other wildlife continued disappearing across the region. Large dust storms formed from the exposed seabed, carrying salt and pollutants into nearby communities. The environmental collapse spread beyond the shoreline into agriculture, public health, and local economies. Entire ecosystems struggled to survive as one of the world's largest inland seas transformed into dry land. An environmental system that had supported life for generations was breaking apart in front of millions of people. Fishing industries collapsed across towns that once depended entirely on the sea. Factories closed as local economies weakened under the environmental decline. Many families left communities where generations had lived and worked beside the water. Dust from the exposed seabed spread across nearby settlements during strong seasonal winds. The air carried salt and industrial pollutants across long distances throughout the region. Health conditions worsened as respiratory illness and environmental stress increased across affected communities. Large areas of exposed seabed slowly turned into barren desert land. Strong winds carried fine dust across farms, wetlands, and surrounding ecosystems. Plants struggled to survive in increasingly salty soil conditions across the basin. Wetlands and feeding areas supporting inside. Wildlife continued disappearing over time that once supported life across the region, an ecosystem broken apart. Today, parts of the Aral Sea remain separated into smaller, isolated lakes. Some restoration projects have improved environmental conditions in limited areas, but large sections of the former seabed remain exposed across the region. The Aral Sea became one of the clearest modern examples of how environmental collapse can reshape ecosystems, livelihoods, and human health within a single human lifetime.